You better get ready for a brand new day. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. They're singing, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. They got the power, they got the speed to be the best in the National League. Well, this is the year and the Cubs are real. So come on down to Wrigley Field. We're singing now, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Baseball time is here again. You can catch it all on WGN. So stamp your feet and clap your hands. Chicago Cubs got the greatest fans. I hear 'em singing now, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Let's go! Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Teach 'em in! Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Take Charlotte! Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Do it, Huey Lou! Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Across the Goal Line, a sports podcast brought to you by Die Hard fans. And today, we bring you the following as we look at NASCAR, as we are just one more race away before Homestead, as another driver booked his spot in the Final Four on Sunday at, what was it, Charlotte? Was it? Or?
No, it was at Texas.
Texas. All right. We have
Get
UFC.
with it, Corey.
Yeah. UFC 205 is
Still,
this weekend, as got a big card for you to bring you.
Yeah.
Predictions for that. We have the World Series finishing up where we left off last week. It was Game 7 last time we recorded. So,
And
that obviously happened.
as you heard, at the beginning here, you obviously know who won.
You obviously know who won that. I mean, if you even watched any sporting channels since Wednesday, you obviously do know that as well.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about it, our own personal opinions, our own ideas, whatever. Also, of course, we got your recaps for this week in both college football and the NFL. Taking a look back at weeks 10 and 9.
And be sure to check out that live stream from yesterday as well. We did another live stream and did all on football this week.
Yes, we also have the picks for weeks 11 and 10 for college and the NFL, respectively. And also the college football playoff rankings, second week here. They came out just on Tuesday night. And, so we're going to discuss some of that, too. That was also in the live stream as well.
Yep.
So, let's get things started. NASCAR, which is Texas.
Yeah, it was at Texas.
And
they're at Charlotte a couple weeks ago, so that maybe that's where you got it mixed up there.
Yeah, but Carl Edwards won. He
Yep.
booked his spot in the Final Four. And it was a rain-shortened race.
Yep.
Last 41 laps remaining in the race. Called it. So, kind of fortunate for him. Gets in.
Yeah,
So,
anytime a race, goes more than halfway and then there, is rain in the area and it affects the race, they'll end up calling it, and whoever is in the lead at that point in time of the race will be declared the winner. So that's why, Carl Edwards won. A lot of people will say, it's probably a shortcut to get to the, Final Four there at Homestead in 2 weeks. But, there's nothing he can do. Mother Nature helped him out a little bit. But, Carl Edwards joins Jimmy Johnson now as 2 of the 4 that will be competing for that championship at Homestead in 2 weeks. And then whoever wins this week at Phoenix as well, then is in, and then whoever is in the 4th spot with the most points will also be competing for that championship.
Which right now you got Kyle Busch and Joey Logano at the top of the points table, or in the 3rd and 4th spots as it stands.
Busch, the defending champ from last year, we'll have to see if he can repeat. It's been a long season of NASCAR, all the way back to February, and Kyle Busch really did a good job last season as well. He only raced half the year, after breaking his leg in certain spots. But like I said, we'll have to see if he repeats in 2 weeks. He still has to get in, so we'll have to take that one thing at a time. It's at Phoenix this week, as I said. Kevin Harvick has won there before. I think he'll win again and get himself into the final race and compete for the championship. Who are you going to take, Corey?
I'm going to take someone that's not in the chase right now. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin.
All right, he won a couple weeks ago. And was eventually eliminated for not having more points than other drivers, but it's just how it works. So, moving on now, let's go to UFC 205. It's at Madison Square Garden this Saturday night. First time a UFC event has been held in the state of New York with New York laws. They finally passed it and are now allowing MMA events to be held in the state of New York. So let's kick it off. The women's bantamweight, Miesha Tate. She was the champion. She beat Ronda Rousey there a while ago, and then she eventually, lost it. She's going up against Raquel Pennington. I'm just going to take Tate. She's going to be the number one woman in the UFC after Ronda Rousey retires, which could be here at the end of the year. She has a fight on December 30th in Vegas, and she said she's going to be hanging it up after that. So we'll have to see if that's true or not. But I think this win for me, I think if Miesha Tate wins this weekend at UFC 205, it will lead to her, getting another title shot and possibly, becoming the champion then. So, Corey, who are you going to take?
I'm also going to take Tate. Just lost the championship. I think it was the last time we picked UFC 203 it was. She was
2 months ago.
Defending her title, I think. What was it, Cyborg or something? She lost the title there, and she's firmly in the hunt. Isn't Rousey's fight for the title, too? If I'm not mistaken.
It could be. I'll have to look into that. I'm not
100%
sure.
I think you broke the news.
I know I broke the news that she'd be fighting. I think it's going to be UFC 207. It's at the end of December.
I could have sworn he said it was for the title.
It might be for the title. Like I said, we'll have to look into it.
If I remember correctly, I remember going off about that, how she doesn't deserve the title in her first match back from losing. But, hey. Miesha Tate to bounce back from losing the title.
All right, next, middleweight, Chris Weidman going up against Yoel Romero. I know who Chris Weidman is, not personally, but he's more well known than Romero, so I'm going to take Weidman.
I'll have to go Weidman also.
All right, next two championship bouts. Not another welterweight, excuse me. This is for the welterweight. Tyrone Woodley, who won at UFC 203 in Cleveland by knockout, is defending his title against Stephen Thompson. I think Woodley gets another knockout. I don't know when, but I think he'll win by knockout this Saturday night.
Definitely a possibility. He's got a lot of power. I think he'll retain his title in this one. It is for the title, correct?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So, he'll retain his title in that fight.
All right, and then next sees the return of Conor McGregor. Last fought at UFC 202 in August against who did he fight, Corey?
Wasn't it Aldo or Diaz?
Yeah, it was Nate Diaz. And he's going up against Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight championship. I think they'll have McGregor win. I think there might be a little behind the scenes work there with some money talk involved, but I could be wrong. Eddie Alvarez is a good fighter though. He's a good champion, but I think they'll put McGregor back on top and have him win the lightweight championship.
I would not be surprised if McGregor does win the championship here.
Get those pay-per-view buys up there. Like I said,
It only makes sense.
It's the first
me
MMA event in the state of New York. So
It was me last week. It's you this week talking about possible little interesting actions, questionable actions possibly going on.
yeah, and one thing leads to another, as I always say, and everything takes time. And one thing leads to another. We're moving on to the World Series now. We talked about last week. Corey.
I'm taking Eddie Alvarez.
Okay.
Throw that in there real quick.
All right.
Make sure we don't forget that.
Sounds good.
All right. So World Series.
Yeah, World Series. Last week we disagreed on, if baseball's fixed. As I said, I don't think it is.
That's sports in general.
In sports in general, there's some that you can argue, yes, but baseball is one I think you can't throw it. Not unless you're like a single player. I agree with you on that. Now I didn't say it last week. You had said that, but we'll leave it at that. We just moved into the World Series, as I said. The Chicago Cubs, as you heard at the beginning of the episode 31 now this week.
Yes.
Already, it's hard to believe. The Cubs won the World Series for the first time in 108 years. Really, really surprising. They defeated the Cleveland Indians in the 7-game series 4-3, and they won Game 7 last Wednesday night in Cleveland by a score of 8-7 in extra innings. Went to the 10th inning. A lot of people were saying they won in 10 innings. The final score is 8-7. You take the 10th inning, that's 10, and then they scored 8 runs. That you put that together, that's 108. Added on to all the other 108 superstitions. I guess you could say that I talked about 2 weeks ago. So be sure to go listen to that. And as I said too, last time there's 2 ties in the NFL season. The Indians lost to the Florida Marlins in 7 games in the World Series. Mm-hmm. Well, that happened again this year. As I said, the Cubs won, and there was 2 ties in the NFL season this year, and then the Indians lost. So, yeah. And what else here? What else here do we have? I actually thought this baseball game was the best baseball game I've ever watched personally. I don't know about you, Corey.
I turned it off when it was 7-2 because I knew they were going to win anyway.
You're a lot like Rex Ryan then. He actually took the Buffalo Bills staff by bus to Cleveland from Buffalo, and then they left right as the rain delay started. And he's a
It wasn't the rain delay either. It was before the...
He's a diehard Chicago Cubs fan as well, so I don't know how why he left.
Because he knew it was over.
But
I've been saying it was over after Game 5. I said it was over after Game 5 that morning. I said Cubs got it in 7.
Well, the thing is, he's a Cubs fan. Why would he leave? That doesn't make any sense.
He's got a freaking game to worry about.
Yeah. Well, they had an extra day, and we'll get more into that later. As you said, you can go check it out on the live stream from yesterday as well. The Seahawks played the Seahawks played at home to the Bills on Monday night, so he had an extra day. So I think that's why he went to Cleveland and took the whole staff. But as I said, I already talked about the number 108, and then what a job Theo Epstein has done. He was the GM for the Boston Red Sox after the 2002 season, and then they broke the streak in 2004. An 86-year gap between the last World Series title and the current one that they had. They've won 2 since then as well. And then he goes to Chicago, and he might as well have on his headstone when he dies, curse breaker, because then he broke the Cubs 108-year streak that no one thought would ever happen. We witnessed history, last week when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series, and then we witnessed history last night early morning when Donald Trump defeated Hillary Clinton to become the 45th president of the United States of America. But I really don't have anything else to say about the World Series, to be honest with you, because, we've talked about the MLB postseason a lot this fall, ever since we've actually covered a lot of baseball this year, more than I thought, we would, when we first started, but it is what it is. We'll be sure to bring you more baseball coverage, into next year, all of next year as well. And with that, I just want to say congratulations to the Chicago Cubs, and let's see if they can, repeat next year. Do you think they'll repeat next year, Corey, as
Absolutely not.
World Series champions? I don't think they will.
If anything, the Indians are going to win.
I don't think they will either. I don't know about the Indians. Both teams are really, really well put together. Both have good general managers. Both have good managers. You have something to say?
Yeah. Recent history would show that the Indians have a fairly good chance of winning.
Why is that?
Go back to 2014. The Giants defeat the Royals. 2015, the Royals win the World Series. The Cubs, who are a favorite, they lost in the NLCS, sure. They come back and win the World Series this year. That's a little interesting fact.
All right.
You like to go on the history side of things sometimes. So I just want to kind of bring that out. I just realized that, probably days ago, around the time Game 7, even during the World Series. Kind of an interesting little thing there. So if history repeats itself, it's likely that the Indians might win the World Series next year. If it goes like that. Just an interesting little thing to think about.
That gives people, time to ponder and really, really think about that, because it's November. Baseball season doesn't start until March. That's when pitchers and catchers and all players report for spring training. So it's going to be a long off season, but with that, we still have football to talk about.
Yeah.
We have hockey. We have basketball. What else is there to talk about, Corey?
Pretty much anything.
Is that pretty much anything?
Anything we can get our hands on that we want to talk about,
Yeah. Because, as I said last week, we bring you the best sports coverage in the universe.
I just want to say some stuff about the World Series,
All right.
Of course. Going back to my points from last week about the rigging or whatever, the fixings.
Yeah.
It seems a little too perk for me that they won this way, The 8-7 in extra innings.
I can see where you're coming from.
Seems a little too perfect. Just to me, coming back from 3-1 down, winning 2 on the road. I already talked about how it parallels the Cavaliers in the NBA from last season in the finals. But speaking of the Cavaliers, though, my favorite image from the game, though, was after Rajay Davis hit the game-tying home run.
LeBron
And the crowd going crazy. That and a funny picture I saw with Steph Curry, who was in the crowd. He's like, there's no way I'm going to watch Cleveland blow a 3-1 lead. Which
they did.
which is one of the funnier pictures from there. But it's one of those situations where it seems like it's too good to be true. To me,
I can see where you're coming from.
A little too perfect for me,
I can see where you're coming from.
I mean, that's all I really have to say about the World Series. I'm not a big baseball fan to begin with, so I don't really have much to say about it anyway. But yeah, and when we come back, we're gonna get into some of that football we've been talking about so much at the beginning of the show and just recently too. So stay tuned for that.
Congratulations to the Cubs as well again.
Yes, as we head off. All right, we're back, and we're going to get some college football now, and we're going to start with the college football playoff rankings. The second week of rankings just came out on Tuesday night, last night at around 7 p.m.-ish, and the top 10, not much has really changed. Only A&M has dropped down because they lost this past week to Mississippi State, but Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, they're still top 3. Washington, they move up into the 4th spot. Ohio State just bumps up themselves up 1 to 5. Louisville does the same, as does Wisconsin. They move up 1 spot each. Ohio State's at 5, Louisville 6, Wisconsin's at 7. And then A&M drops from 4 all the way down to 8. Auburn stays right at 9, and then Penn State, thanks to losses to both losses of Nebraska and Florida this past week, they get themselves into the top 10 at number 10.
Yeah, we are. And then they also beat Iowa at home pretty handily this past week.
That helps.
By a score of 41-14. So yeah, that also helps.
So we'll kind of similar to last week, kind of go through the teams, see where they are, see if we agree, disagree type stuff, kind of. But top 3, can't really say anything. They did their job last week, and they're going to remain right there as long as they keep winning.
Yeah, so. Alabama beat LSU 10-0. Clemson had a good game, and then Michigan, they destroyed Maryland. When I thought that game would have been a whole lot closer. I thought Maryland would actually put up a fight, but they didn't.
Yeah, Washington getting into the 4th spot thanks to A&M losing. They beat, Cal. They beat Cal pretty handily on the road in Cal.
The game was, I was actually watching that game after both Penn State, Ohio State, and Alabama game got over. And the game was pretty close at half. It was 21-20 Washington, and then second half, Washington just blew them out of the water. Cal didn't even show up to play in the second half. So I think Washington, after they both Washington and Ohio State, as you said, had big wins. Mm-hmm. The 4 and 5 spots, I think the committee, got it right this week, but we'll have to see. But one of the like I said last week, one of these teams, maybe 2 of these teams, will lose. Before the end of the season.
Definite possibility. That's the only quarrel I really have with the top 10 rankings this week. The possibly switch Ohio State, Washington, because Ohio State decimated Nebraska 62-3.
Yeah,
they won by 59 against a top 10 team. At least last week they were.
Yeah,
of course they're not now.
Yeah, coming in 1 point shy of what they put up against Nebraska in 2012 when the Cornhuskers visited Columbus. Nebraska only has 1 win over Ohio State since they've joined the conference in 2011, and it was in 2011 in Lincoln. So it just shows you, Ohio State is the better team between those two whenever they, match up.
Yeah.
But
tough break for Nebraska though.
Yeah.
In the schedule, gets to play Wisconsin and Ohio State back to back on the road. Both of them. Well, at least you knew Ohio State was going to be good. You didn't probably know Wisconsin was going to be this good this season.
No, and their only 2 losses are to both Michigan and Ohio State.
Exactly.
In a span of 3 weeks, as I said, with a bye week in between. And, if they can win the West, they'll be going on to Indy to play the winner of that Michigan-Ohio State game.
Exactly.
And then if they can win the Big Ten championship game, they're in the playoff. There's no doubt. But then I was thinking last night as well, it would be better for the Big Ten if Michigan would beat Ohio State at the end of the year. No, if Ohio State would beat Michigan at the end of the year, Wisconsin then ends up beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Michigan's just sitting there. Wisconsin wins. They're in the playoff. Michigan's just sitting there. There's no reason why Michigan should also be considered as that 4th seed, maybe the 3, depending on how both Alabama and Clemson and Washington, how their schedules play out.
That's the problem there.
And then you got Louisville as well, but they're sitting behind both Michigan and Ohio State, one in front of Wisconsin, but Louisville doesn't have a shot to win the ACC. The committee will take a conference champion over a team that did not win their conference. So it's looking real good for the Big Ten with 3 teams in the top 7, 4 in the top 10, and 5 in the top 25, with Nebraska coming in at 19 now after losing to Ohio State last week. So yeah, I agree with you too about the top 10. It's
pretty spot on.
It's spot on, I'd say, yeah. And a lot of people didn't believe me last week when I said A&M wasn't as good, did you? They lost on the road in Starkville to a 4-loss Mississippi State team. I don't know how that happens, whenever they're supposed to be the 4th best team in the country, but that's why they play the games, as I've said that before as well. So, yeah, top 10. Top 10 is pretty spot on, as you said. And
Yeah.
two, about Penn State at 10. They're actually in the top 10 for the first time since 2009, the year after they went to the Rose Bowl and lost to USC. But then that same season, they went on and beat LSU in the Capital One Bowl. And Joe Paterno was still the head coach. And today is actually the 5-year anniversary of Penn State firing Paterno, to throw that in there. But move on now. Tell you the rest of the rankings from 11 to 25. Do you want me to do 11 to 15? You do 16 to 20, and then you do it like that. You just want to do them all.
Yeah, you can just do it.
All right.
Before you do that, just a couple things.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Louisville's stagnant pretty much at 6 right now. They don't really have any chance at all unless teams lose. Wisconsin, the only thing holding them back at this moment is because the two teams in front of them, those are losses, you know?
Yep.
So, and Penn State, they're at 10, yeah. They're a long shot, of course, because also, I mean, obviously two losses need a lot of help from Michigan.
They
and
need
Ohio State.
they need Michigan to lose twice, and I'll be rooting for Iowa this Saturday night. I mean, I'm still going to pick Michigan. I'll throw that in there now. We'll be picking that game here coming up in a little bit. I'm still going to pick Michigan, just because you just can't pick against them. They're that damn good, along with Ohio State. That Ohio State-Michigan game, it might be one of the best games of the century, going back to that LSU-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa in 2011. And as I said last week, too, I thought this LSU-Alabama game this past weekend was going to be a lot like that 2011 game. Low scoring,
Yeah.
Possibly go to overtime. Didn't go to overtime. Alabama won 10-0, but type of game you want to see. Ground and pound type of football. You don't want to see any high-scoring Big 12 football. Teams can't play any defense, but I'll leave that at that. Go on with
But
what you're
yeah,
saying.
talking about that Alabama game, it was the quarterback play of Alabama that kind of pretty much won the day. True freshman quarterback Jalen Hurts had over 100 yards rushing. It was his legs that got it done. He scored the only touchdown in the entire game, over 100 yards. Multiple times, even on that scoring drive, lots of big third down conversions, scrambling out of the pocket, picking up big yardage, and on the touchdown run, which was a 21-yard run, if I remember correctly, watching that. So, yeah.
Yeah, he won Alabama the game. And as you say, he's a true freshman. He was in high school 6 months ago.
I think that's the one thing people don't really talk about when they're talking about Alabama. A true freshman quarterback is doing this, leading them number one dominant team in the country right now.
And, their defense is just, they haven't, what's the right word I want to use? They haven't staggered one bit, I guess you could say. They haven't gone downhill.
They have been a model of consistency.
They've been in some close games, but they've been able to pull it out in the end, and that's the
more often than not.
That's the thing that counts. Yeah. A win's a win when it comes down to it, because that's what people will remember, in the record books, whether you had a W beside the game or an L. So, we'll go to our PR guy now. Do we have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right.
Okay.
So 11 through 15, or 11 through 25 even. So,
all right. 11, Oklahoma. I said they would be the team to.
They're the team that has the chance from the Big 12. Looking good
for the Big 12, and possibly just to get into the playoff. But then, as I said, Penn State too. They're sitting at 10. They're right in front of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Penn State needs a lot more, of course.
They do, because they probably won't win the Big 10 because, as you said, Michigan Blues, but.
And they need that.
Yeah. Colorado coming in at 12. They've lost to Michigan. Michigan's sitting at 3. And they
move up.
They're playing some good football in Pac-12 as well. Oklahoma State at 13. They beat West Virginia, who comes in at 16 2 weeks ago. Virginia Tech at 14. Their only bad loss is at Syracuse. I said that last week. Utah, they've only lost to Washington. But Washington really hasn't played anybody, and that's what I said last week.
That's their flaw, yeah.
That's why I really think they deserve to be 4, let alone 5 or 6. But now they're 4. But you just got to deal with it.
I mean, you get it though.
I get it. Yes, I understand it. Where everybody's coming from, where the committee is coming from, especially. West Virginia, as I said, is 16. 17 is North Carolina Tar Heels. Florida State at 18. So we have back-to-back ACC schools. Nebraska at 19, as I said. And then, as I said last week, USC was bringing up the rear.
Yeah, moved up a little bit.
They moved up a little bit to 20. And if Washington loses this week to USC at home, that's where College Game Day is at this weekend up in Seattle. If Washington loses to USC, Washington could still get into the playoff. They just need USC to, win out.
Yeah.
And then possibly these two teams could still meet for the Pac-12 title in Santa Clara the first weekend of December. So we could see a rematch in about a month. And then Western Michigan coming in at 21. They should be moving up a little bit more after last night's victory. They won 37-21 over Kent State. They were 23 last week. So next week I'd say they're about 18 or 19. The committee moved them up 2 spots from last week to this week. Boise State and Washington State are 22 and 23 respectively. And then LSU and Arkansas are 24 and 25. And those two teams, play each other this weekend in Fayetteville. So that should be a fun, exciting game. Ed Orgeron, he could still keep his job. I think we'll get more into that here in a bit, just because we will be picking that game as well. Do you have anything else to say about the college football playoff rankings that were released for the second time last night?
I think you skipped over Virginia Tech. They've come out of nowhere pretty much. They're at 14 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really have much of a chance in the ACC, of course.
Their only bad loss is Syracuse on the road, and Syracuse might not even get to a bowl game, so that's going to hurt them a lot, I think.
That really does. But I think pretty much the same thing stands from last week. Who we think has the best outside shot of making it, Oklahoma, I think, is definitely at the top of that list.
Can't go wrong with Penn State, though.
And
they're sitting right there at 10, right?
Me personally, of course.
One spot ahead of them. Me personally, of course, as you said, but I did pick Oklahoma as well last week to have the best shot to get to the playoff. So
they have the best shot simply because they don't have to go over anybody, really. They're at the top of their conference. Right?
They are. They just got to win. If they lose, there's
they don't
no
need to
chance.
They don't need to rely on anybody else. It's up to them whether they do well. So
you win and you're in.
That's how it goes, But again, their problem is that lack of a conference championship game.
Yep.
And we all know it. It's the reason why they almost didn't make it last year. They just played their way in. So
yeah, and now the Big 12 did say they will have a conference championship game starting next year. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, I believe, at the home field of the the higher ranked team between 1 and 2. Got some likes coming in here on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
That's good to see. Please share this, which I do our best week in and week out. But what was I even saying? Yeah, Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
They win, they're in. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, they're going to be the team to keep an eye on that could possibly make that outside run. I mean, teams that are right there, of course. Wisconsin's one of the teams. Auburn, of course, as well. Those are teams
Auburn,
that can get themselves in. What the heck?
Yeah, what the hell was that, Corey?
I don't know. Phone, I guess. Yeah.
Our PR guy picked it up and answered it. He's listening to what they have to say.
Excitement. Right here, across the
Yeah, we might have some breaking news for you by the end of the show. We'll have to see.
Oh, my God.
Nothing? No, that was nothing.
All right.
It was a prank call. Anyways, yeah. Well, going back to... I want to... Before I forget about Oklahoma...
Can't get over it, can
Yeah, I can't... that was pretty funny, if you ask me. I lost my train of thought when I saw the likes coming in there on Facebook. The Big 12 will have a conference championship game starting next year, and it's going to have the top 2 teams playing at the higher seeded home teams stadium for the conference championship. So we'll leave it at that. But then going back to Auburn too, as you said, that Iron Bowl game, Thanksgiving weekend, that's going to be one hell of a game. There's going to be a lot of fun, exciting games the last weekend of the season before all the conference championship games.
I think that's it for the college football playoff rankings, at least. But
yeah, that's good enough for me.
Why not get into some of the college football from last week? Week, what was it, 10? It would be.
Yeah, week 10 review.
What was the biggest upset from this past week?
Somebody's trying to call me on Facebook. I don't know who it is.
So biggest upset this week.
I actually know who that is. I'll call him back later. I believe he's watching us right now. But yeah, Week 10 review. The biggest upset, we always like to do biggest upset.
Yeah.
Best game, impressed, disappointed. What was the biggest upset for you, Corey?
We're both pretty much in agreement with Mississippi State beating Texas A&M. Huge upset.
Yes.
Crushing mostly the hopes of A&M making the playoff for the most part. It's a bad loss. But A&M losing is huge. I didn't expect it. I mean, it was only a one-possession game in the end, but still, Mississippi State 4 loss. Mississippi State, as you already mentioned. So
Yeah. As I said last week, I didn't think A&M deserved to be 4. So I agree with you on that. TCU over Baylor as well. Baylor was still ranked in the top 20. They lost by 40.
and now they're
And
I mean,
now
they
they're-
already were, but
Now they're unranked. And then Arkansas over Florida as well, but we both picked that.
we both picked Arkansas.
Upset last week. So
Yeah, I normally don't put it in, and I don't put an actual upset in that I already picked
Yeah.
previously. Because like last week, Wyoming won, which is an upset in itself, but we both picked
Yep.
Wyoming to win, so I don't really count it if I think that it was going to be a win anyway. So it's
Yeah.
not an upset to me. It's not an upset, you know.
All right, now the best game, I had Purdue at Minnesota. It was up in Minneapolis at 3:30 last weekend at TCF Bank Stadium. It was really close there at the end, and the Golden Gophers ended up squeaking it out. But other than that, I didn't think there was any good games.
Well, I put Alabama LSU 10-0,
Low scoring.
low score.
I
good
actually
game.
watched all 3 games at once. I had the Penn State game up on the TV, and then the Ohio State game and the Alabama game both on my laptop.
But yeah,
So,
that was a great game.
Shows you my
Tough fought game.
dedication.
Tough fought game. Can't take anything from LSU. They played well. But again, Alabama bottled up Leonard Fournette once again, probably crushing his chances again at the Heisman possibly for the second straight year. Lamar Jackson's probably going to win it anyway.
Yeah.
But he's playing himself out of it once again. He might
Yeah.
not even be called to be there for the
I
ceremony.
don't think he will.
Because you'll have
That's-
Jake Browning, possibly Baker Mayfield as well. If
Possibly.
he continues playing well and carries his team into the playoff, even
Yeah.
definitely, he might even win it.
That's 2 years in a row now, as you said,
Yeah,
especially in the Alabama game. I
It's
think
kryptonite.
I think the
It's Alabama.
stats were spot on 2 years in a row.
pretty much the same. Yeah, he only had
Like 17 carries for 35 yards.
he only had 30-some yards. It's,
That's pretty bad for a running back who's supposed to be, say, a top pick in the draft. Possibly
yeah,
a
that's something
Heisman
I would
candidate.
look at as a scout, and
Yeah.
probably that would kind of worry me a little bit because you're
Yeah.
playing against a defense that is likely pretty much everyone on that defense is going to be in the NFL for the most part.
Oh, for sure. It's what
You're going
That's what
against an
Alabama
NFL
is.
caliber defense and you can't get it done. What are you going
Yeah.
to do in the actual NFL against an actual NFL defense? Unless you're playing the Browns. I mean,
the Browns are the Browns.
unless you're playing a bad team with a terrible run defense. but
Now,
still.
do you think a college team would beat an NFL team? But do you think the best college team would beat the worst NFL team?
Do I think the
Do you think Alabama would beat Cleveland?
yes? I think I possibly.
I don't know about that.
It's dependent, you know.
Yeah.
Alabama, maybe a different incarnation of this Alabama team. Maybe not this one in particularly. Then again, the Browns haven't won a game this season.
Yeah.
They're pretty bad themselves.
Yeah, they're 0-9 now, coming off a huge loss to Dak Attack and the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but
If you guys have any questions, too, if you're watching,
yeah, don't
drop them in the comments below.
Yeah, don't worry. Just
If
ask.
you have tried to get a hold of me by either phone or text message and you have a question, drop it in the comments below. Moving on, impressed. I think we're both in agreement on this as well. Ohio State.
Yep, Ohio State,
OH.
59-point win over a top 10 team.
At
That's
home.
impressive. At home, but
It would be even more impressive if it was on the road in Lincoln, or anywhere. But Ohio State, they're just a total different team than they were a couple weeks ago when they came here at Happy Valley and ended up losing to Penn State. It's impressive, you know.
week in and week out how one team can play. Look at Texas A&M, for example.
Yeah.
They ranked 4th last week in the poll, and then they lose to Mississippi State on the road. A 4-loss Mississippi State team,
It's just
as I said. So, and speaking of A&M, they disappointed for me. What about you?
me as well. A&M.
Yeah,
How can you not put them in that category?
because
you could say that the pressure got to them. Like, oh, we're 4, and now better not fuck this up.
yeah,
And well, you did.
that's true.
So,
That is true.
Screwed themselves there.
And as I said, they lost to 4-loss Mississippi State team. Need I say more? I don't think I do.
Terrible loss.
And for that, we'll move on to week 11 now.
Well, will the Browns ever win a game this season? I don't know. Nice question here we got. I don't know.
They
it
might.
depends.
They might. They might.
They could pull one out.
They could
Who
pull
knows?
one out.
Who knows? It depends.
They
Maybe
could-
they win late in the season against a team that's resting players. Who knows? Maybe they're playing a team that's in the playoffs already, and they're going to rest their guys.
They need. They need Mike Mazzan as their head coach. The Miz. No, but they might. They might. What's the right word I want to use? Do the same thing that Detroit Lions did in 2007, and that's go 0-16.
Yeah,
That's pretty bad. If you go 0-16, something needs to change,
They are.
or maybe a lot of things need to change.
well, things have needed to change in Cleveland there, but we got another question.
What's that?
Favorite to win the Super Bowl?
We got a couple questions. PR
Yeah.
guy. What are those questions?
I'll go to the first one. Who's the favorite to win the Super Bowl? We're halfway through the season.
Right now,
It's kind of a good question, yeah. Halfway through the season
yeah,
now.
obviously you have to go and say New England just because
New England is
with,
definitely at the-
Brady playing as well as he is.
This juncture. Yes.
My pick at the beginning of the year was Pittsburgh and Green Bay.
Well, I had New England.
It's still looking all right. Still looking all right. Both teams are 4-4. Got a couple more likes coming in on Facebook.
Yeah.
But right now,
I mean, I gotta say the Patriots out of the AFC at least. The Cowboys look extremely well, as well.
the Raiders just win, baby. The Oakland
They're looking
Raiders
pretty
are looking pretty damn good. And I had them winning the AFC West over both Kansas City and Denver. And I think that will stand. I think they will win the West. Hell, we might have a rematch of Oakland and New England in the Tuck Roll game, say in the divisional round or even the AFC Championship game, to decide who represents the AFC in the Super Bowl. But right now, as you said, Dallas is good too. They're 7-1. Dak and Ezekiel Elliott are doing real well.
Yeah, I've been singing the praises of the Cowboys on this show plenty of times already.
Des Bryant, is back from injury as well 2 weeks ago.
And they
so-
don't need him, though, the way Dak plays the game. He just gives it to whoever.
And
you
then
know.
and then Jason Witten had probably one of the best games in the past 2 years.
Yeah, he had
If you
130-some
ask me.
yards and a touchdown. And don't forget about Cole Beasley. He's been Prescott's favorite target.
Yes.
He's like the Wes Welker of that team.
Good.
Going back
he's-
to the Patriots.
He's a good fantasy pickup too if you need him in fantasy football.
PPR for sure.
So we got any more questions?
We had a bunch of questions.
We got more
I was
questions.
trying to get to.
Yeah, let's go back to the start of the
Take a few more, then get back into
the cycle
things.
of questions. What do we got, PR guy?
Yeah, who will win Offensive Rookie of the Year, Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott?
Zeke.
I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in a tie. Both of them are.
Zeke will, because he's honestly the most valuable of the two guys on the team, because as the running back,
I agree with that.
for a rookie quarterback, is the most important position.
Yes.
For a rookie quarterback is the running back,
Yeah.
and he's been dominating pretty much every game he's played.
Yeah, and look,
It's going to be like DeMarco Murray from a few years ago.
and look at that offensive line. Anybody can run behind that offensive line in Dallas. It's ridiculous. They play in Pittsburgh this week. We'll get to that here in a second.
So yeah, I got Zeke.
Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends a tie, but I have to agree with Zeke
He's
as well.
definitely
'Cause
playing
if you can run the ball effectively, it opens up the play action pass, and
Everything
even
is
if you
Zeke.
have a decent quarterback, and with Dak only being a rookie as well, it opens up the playbook, and one thing leads to another.
Yeah, everything that Elliott's doing is pretty much helping Dak Prescott do what he's doing.
Yep.
So
And they haven't lost since week 1. They're on
Yes.
a 7-game win streak right now.
All right.
That I think will come to an end this Sunday when they visit Pittsburgh.
Of course. All right.
All right,
What's next?
Next question. Where will Manziel end up? And Chase West says, don't say nowhere.
Jail. How about that?
That is the place. If we're talking strictly football, Canada, maybe.
Thank you for all the hearts and likes on Facebook, people.
How about on a street corner with a needle in his arm?
That's okay. If you had to put, we're asking our viewers, would you rather have him in jail or on a corner with a needle in his arm? I would have to vote jail. I wouldn't want to see him like that, even though I hate him that much. Next.
All right, next question. Who's your favorite to vote for NFL MVP?
Oh boy, MVP. Oh crap. Oh, geez.
Who's that coming from?
That comes from Jarrett Wagner.
All right. Well, he likes
MVP.
the Bears, and they flat out suck. I'll throw that in there. Sure as hell ain't going to be Jay Cutler.
Just thinking.
Sure as hell ain't going to be anybody on the
I gotta
team.
say Tom Brady. Right now,
The question is, should the NFL allow him to win MVP even though he was suspended for the first 4 games of the season?
if he's the best player,
It's true. I'll get back to Waggy 99 there on who I think will win the NFL MVP at the moment.
all right.
Next.
I think that's it. Try to get back into the show here.
Well,
College football this week.
let's
Yeah,
let's read some more questions.
Yeah, do we have any more?
We're not on a time limit.
Not a question, but Chase West says, tell Luke I said Mans will have a better career than Hackenberg.
I don't
Them be fighting.
think
words.
about that. I don't know.
Them be fighting words.
We'll see. At least Hackenberg is still on an NFL roster at the moment. He just hasn't got a shot to play. I'll leave it
All
at
right.
that. Next.
I think that was it.
Yeah,
if I was
that's
looking,
That's it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it too here, but I
All
think
right.
that was it.
And then Chase said Manziel to the Jets.
So yeah, there it is. Back to college football then.
All right, yeah, back to
We're into
college
the games
football.
now, so-
Yeah, into the games for Week 11. We always like to do some FCS games, the Football Championship subdivision, before we get into the FBS. Keep those likes coming, share this, get it out to the people so they can see this live stream of across the goal line. I went 3-1 last week in the FCS. You went 4-0. You got a 4-game lead on me now.
Leading everything.
With you going undefeated last week. So I'm 25-10 on the season, and he is 29-6 then. First game is Harvard at Penn.
All right.
Who are you gonna take, Corey?
Taking Harvard. I
always
always
take
take Harvard.
I would like to take Penn. I took them last week when they played Princeton and they got shut out. So I can't pick them 2 weeks in a row if they do that. So I got to take Harvard. We got a funny question or something.
Oh, we got a good question for you, Luke.
All
Very
right.
good question for you.
Who's it coming from
It's
first of all?
from Jared Williams.
All right.
He says, Luke, is Big Ben about washed up? Should we start thinking about drafting a QB?
He is not washed up, but we should consider drafting his replacement. Landry Jones is not the answer. I think Pittsburgh Steelers fans can obviously see that. I think Chase can agree with me as well, if he's still out here listening, that he is not the answer. And he'll play. We'll support him, and when he plays well, that's good. But when he's bad, everybody's going to be on him about he needs to play better, and that's for any sport, any team. And it's sad, but it's the truth. And a lot of people don't want to hear the truth, but it is what it is. Going back to college football now, Sacred Heart at Duquesne. I'm going to take Duquesne just because they're the hometown team down around Pittsburgh.
I also take Duquesne.
All right. And then James Madison goes to Philly to play Villanova. James Madison has 1 loss on the year. I think this is a game of the week in the FCS. Villanova is 8-1. I mean, James Madison is 8-1. Excuse me, and Villanova is 7-2. Connections for me down in Harrisonburg with James Madison Duke. So I'm going to take JMU.
I'll go Villanova in this one.
All
Home
right.
Team.
And then last but not least, for the FCS, see if I can pick up some more wins and catch you in the lead.
You're gonna need the actual games.
Is Wofford at Chattanooga. I'm gonna take Chattanooga just because the Alan Jackson song Chattahoochee is a pretty damn good song. So I'm gonna take Chattanooga.
Well, yeah, I'm also taking Chattanooga though.
All right,
So that's not really gonna help you there.
all right. Moving on to the FBS, but before we do, any more questions?
Chase Wise just said we need to draft someone in the first 3 to group. Ben is my all-time favorite and Hall of Fame potential, but he's getting old and injury prone.
He's always been injury prone. It's just how he plays, but he's not a he goes out and plays week in and week out. Look, he just had knee surgery 3 weeks ago, and he came back within 2 weeks when his recovery time was 4 to 6, maybe even 8 weeks. So it just shows the type of person he is. He will be in the Hall of Fame at the end of his career. Now, first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know about that at the moment, but I agree. And I agree. Pittsburgh does need to draft somebody. Now, this year in the draft, I don't know. Maybe sign somebody in free agency. I haven't looked into that yet, so we'll see. FBS, I went 7-4. What'd you go? 10-1.
10-1.
And I'm 72-49 in the year, and you're 82-39 in the year. So you got a
Straight crushing you.
10-game lead.
Crushing you.
10-game lead on me in the FBS.
Nostradamus.
2 games on Thursday night, and then 1 game on Friday night before we get into Saturday's games. North Carolina at Duke, Tobacco Road rivalry. If this was a basketball game, I'd be picking Duke. Duke's my favorite college basketball team. But David Cutcliffe, the Duke head coach, he has done a good job, but I got to go with Carolina over the Blue Devils.
I am going to go Carolina.
On Thursday night.
I'll do it quickly. Carolina.
And then Utah at Arizona State on FS1 Thursday night. I'm going to take Utah. Arizona State's down this year, as they've been down the past couple of seasons.
They've played all right this year.
I believe it will be a high-scoring game, though.
I'll have to agree with you on that part of it. I'll take Utah, though.
All right. Boston College at Florida State. Boston College has lost big to both Clemson and Louisville this season, and they have let both Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson to also have big games. I don't think DeAndre Francois, Florida State's quarterback, will have a great game, but they have Dalvin Cook as their running back. Florida State will run the ball down Boston College's throat, and I think they'll run away with it late. Now, remember the last time BC played down Tallahassee, they won 20-17. Florida State did, and it was decided late in the fourth quarter. I think the same thing's going to happen again, and Florida State's going to beat Boston College for the 7th straight season.
I'm going to be a lot more straightforward here. I'm going to say Florida State big over
Big.
Boston College.
I think it's going to be close as it has been the past 2 seasons. Florida State went up to Chapel Hill last season, won 14-0. Now as we move into Saturday's games, a game couple weeks ago, people thought could be for the Big 12 title.
Yeah.
Baylor at Oklahoma, but Baylor's lost 2 straight now by a combined 41 points, which isn't good, especially when you lose by 40 last week to TCU. Then they lost by 1 to Texas. But as I said last week, Oklahoma was my team outside of the top 10 to possibly reach the Final Four. So, in the playoffs, so I'm going to take Oklahoma.
I'm also going to take Oklahoma. Over there, did you have a question over there?
Yes. Is there questions on?
It looked like you were doing some motions.
There are questions.
There
All
are
right.
questions.
There are a lot of questions.
All right.
This is good. Thank you. Thank you.
Jared Wagner says, "When are you gonna shave your beard, Luke?"
We'll see. I don't know.
Never.
We'll see. I don't know.
All right, another question. What coach is going to be on the hot seat if the Steelers keep losing, Tomlin or Butler?
Neither. Mike
care
Tomlin
less.
will be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, at the beginning of next season with Keith Butler as their defense coordinator.
I keep
Now,
saying
you know,
this. I keep saying it.
who's the offense coordinator?
I don't care.
I just lost Todd Haley. Yeah, thank you.
Todd.
If a head coaching job opens up that he likes, I wouldn't mind him leaving. I've been saying that for 4 years. So yeah, both Mike Tomlin and Keith Butler will be in Pittsburgh next year.
All right, last one for now. Who will we see on the field first, Bud Dupree or Ladarius Green?
I'd say Green just because he's been practicing more. Dupree just came back. What was it, yesterday or today?
So we're talking Steelers, right?
We're talking.
Yeah, we're
Steelers.
talking Steelers.
I don't care.
Yeah, he's a Saints fan.
I hate the Steelers.
So
My least favorite team ever.
I-
That's saying something considering when the Flyers are my favorite team. Period. I should hate the Penguins the
Yeah.
most. but
That's
I
true.
don't. I hate the Steelers.
I'd have to say Green though, Chase, just because that's coming from Chase. Wise,
That's coming
right?
from Chase.
Okay. Thank you.
Obvious.
I'd have to say Ladarius Green just because he's been practicing more. Now, will he be in Pittsburgh next year? I don't know. We'll have to
After
see about
one
that.
season.
Well, there's been question on he just signed with them to get a good
Get a good deal.
contract and hold out of. He should have been playing at the beginning of the year, but Wyatt Weston going back to fantasy football, he didn't know about that. He picked him in fantasy football, and
Okay.
that was pretty funny. Chase knows what I'm talking about. Any more questions before I move on, or before Corey picks the winner of Baylor and Oklahoma?
We got a Saints question for Corey.
We got a
Well, I
Saint-
already said Oklahoma, by the way.
All right, we got a Saints question for Corey.
Saints
now.
question
What's
for Corey.
that?
What do you think of Michael Thomas so far? How long until Saints get a replacement for Breeze?
How long? Should be right now. He's got a few more years left. Thomas, I'll talk about Thomas. He's going to be the next Marquise Colston in New Orleans. He's the same, pretty much similar body type. He'll be the same type of receiver that he is. He'll make all the tough catches. And as long as Breeze is there, he'll be probably one of his favorite targets end of this year into the next year, as Colston has been and was. And as for Breeze, he only has a few more years left in him. I'm sure. Speaking of Breeze, I'm sure he's going to break probably mostly almost all of Peyton Manning's records for the most part. The way he throws the ball each game, the way the Saints throw the ball each game, I guess I should say, they love throwing it.
Yeah.
He'll probably break a lot of those records. He's already right there in touchdowns and yards and everything. So, but very soon for a new guy for Breeze in New Orleans, and whenever he leaves, unless we get someone like Dak Prescott or something, it's going to be
That's
a
not
lot
gonna
of
happen.
trouble. But
That is not gonna happen.
right now we have Garrett Grayson, I think, from Colorado State.
Yes, and
It'd be interesting how he would work in
Garrett
that
Grayson.
system
Yep.
with Sean Payton. But I think we need someone now.
Do you think the Saints will win the South this year?
The South
With,
this year.
with how good they've been playing lately, I know you didn't pick them at the beginning. of the year.
No, I still got the Falcons.
You still got Falcons, all right. And by the way, too, if you guys didn't know, Michael Thomas is the nephew of Keyshawn Johnson. He actually
Yeah.
went to Ohio State as well. So, OH Jarrett.
One of the many Ohio State players from this past draft in the NFL now.
Yeah, they had 5 in the first round.
Yeah,
We talked about that. What was that? Episode 4 or 5. Be sure.
B5 because we did our mock drafts.
Yeah,
before.
be sure to go listen to that, folks. So you picked Oklahoma.
Yes.
All right. Next is Mississippi State at Alabama. It's going to be on ESPN at noon on Saturday. Mississippi State beat A&M last week in an upset. I don't think they'll pull the upset 2 weeks in a row. Alabama's going to beat them big.
No. Exactly what you pretty much just said. There's no way. Alabama's not A&M.
Yeah.
No way.
Tulsa at Navy. Tulsa's lost to Ohio State and Houston. Navy has beat Houston though, so common opponent between the two. But I think
Yeah.
Tulsa has a better offense, a triple option. You really can't do anything with it. So Tulsa, I think, will beat Navy on Saturday.
Not sure how to go with this game. I'll go with you. I'll pick Tulsa as well. I think
right.
I'll stick with you on that one.
All right, West Virginia at Texas. Last time the Mountaineers went down to Austin, they got whooped pretty bad. But I think West Virginia will beat Texas. Charlie Strong, he might be on the hot seat. He's actually been on the hot seat all season, but
Yeah.
it might be getting a little hotter, as we move into the last couple weekends of college football. So let's go Mountaineers.
West Virginia. I was riding them really high whenever they were right there, possibly going to win the Big 12,
Yep.
but they lost to Oklahoma State. I'm kind of off their wagon, but Texas isn't good enough to beat them, I don't think. West Virginia in this one.
I think this game will be close, but West Virginia
It should be.
Next, Penn State at Indiana. I don't think I need an explanation.
I'm going to go Penn State this week again.
2 weeks in a row, surprisingly.
2 weeks in a row again. They're not the Steelers. I can pick Penn State. I go to Penn State. Luke.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah, you can't pick against them.
I can't.
You can, but at the same time you can't. Auburn at Georgia. I think this could be an upset in some people's minds. Georgia's sitting there at 5-4. Auburn's ranked 9th in the country. They're getting up there in the rankings. That Iron Bowl at the end of the year between Auburn and Alabama is going to be a good game.
Could be a decider.
And it's going to be deciding who wins the SEC West, really, yeah. But I think Auburn's going to win this game also, late in the fourth quarter.
They're in Georgia.
Yes.
That doesn't really change my
Behind-
opinion, I think.
What was it? Behind the Hedges, they call it? Down there in Athens?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I like Auburn in this one. Like them to keep themselves right there in position to possibly make the playoff with that game looming large very soon against Alabama. Could be, as we've already mentioned, could be for possibly getting into the playoff. Who knows? Depends what Alabama does, of course.
True.
If Alabama loses a game between now and then, it could be for all the marbles for the most part.
If you remember that 2013 Iron Bowl game between Auburn and Alabama, when
decided it.
when the kick six happened at the end of the game, when Auburn won went on and won the SEC, and then they went on and played the national championship game against Florida State. Game they lost, and then final 15 seconds from touchdown pass from Jameis Winston to Kelvin Benjamin, who are both playing in the NFL now. So it's gonna be really exciting. I'll tell you that. We got another question.
Yeah, we just talked about Penn State.
Okay.
Jarrett Wagner. Another question from Jarrett Wagner. How bright?
Thanks for the questions, guys.
How bright is the future for Penn State football in the upcoming years?
It's brighter than what people think. People are going to say we are back. Penn State never left. Yeah, people put them down in the gutters when everything happened. And as I said, today marks 5 years since Penn State fired Joe Paterno, and everything went downhill. But Penn State never left. Penn State's been the same, ever since the beginning of time. So Penn State's fine, and it's brighter than what people think. A couple weeks ago, about a month ago, Franklin was on the hot seat, but now everybody likes him. The offense has turned on the engines and been winning some good been playing some good football lately, and picking up some good wins.
I just saw another question come up there. Chase again. Do the Rams regret picking Goff because he can't seem to play at all?
No.
Yeah,
you look at Jeff Fisher when he was in Tennessee and they drafted Steve McNair. He didn't play him for 2 seasons. Look how Steve McNair turned out. Some things take time. If they don't think he's ready, he's not ready. But who knows? He might be ready. He might go out there and he might play better. If they do play him, he might have a better second half than what Dak Prescott had in the first half of the season. But we're not going to know until they play him, and that might not happen this year. But no, I don't think they regret taking him. You need a quarterback to run your team. So, and you can't. I mean, Case Keenum's played well, but Sean Mannion, guy I was just thinking of, that played for your Saints there. He went to Oregon State. He hasn't got a shot this year either, but they're just not putting up enough points. Their defense is playing good. They're just not putting up enough points on offense.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think going back. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to take.
It's same thing for me pretty much. It's just they're waiting for the right time to put him out in the field.
Yeah.
They don't want to throw him out there in the situation they have now.
Yeah, you don't want to throw them to the wolves like America did to Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump comes back and hell, he's leading the pack now. He's going to make America great again. USA, you can't tell, I'm wearing a hat of the United States of America. But we'll move on now.
Yeah.
Pitt at Clemson, ACC matchup. Penn State really needs Pitt to win. I would really love them to pull the upset, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Clemson pulls it out in the end.
Yeah, in Death Valley, Clemson
Tough place
should
to
win.
play.
Should win this game. Yes. Clemson, the team I have on possible upset alert for me, a shocking one at that. I mean, it'd probably be a stretch of one, which I mean that's what upsets are. They're stretches.
But if Pitt loses as well, this is another good loss for Pitt, and then it makes
Yeah.
Penn State look even better. So it's
Doesn't
a win-win.
Doesn't hurt the Nittany Lions really.
It's a win-win. Now let's speed it up here. Some another ACC matchup: Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech.
Go Virginia Tech.
I'm also going to take Va Tech. Justin Fuente outcoaches Paul Johnson. Ohio State at Maryland.
Ohio State crushes. Again.
Again, I think Maryland will put up more of a fight than what they did last week against Michigan on the road, since they're playing at home in College Park. But 2 years ago when Ohio State went down there, they beat them pretty bad. So I'm still going to pick Ohio State. Stanford at Oregon, good matchup on paper. Both teams just haven't played well this year.
It's been a good game for a while.
Yes, it has.
Each season. Each team has screwed the other team at points. Mostly, I think it's been Stanford screwing Oregon in recent memory. But
Yeah. But then Stanford loses, and
Yeah.
neither of them
yeah, ends
are
up-
playing
it
in
doesn't
a
matter, yeah.
national championship game or in a playoff.
It's a tough game to pick. Should be a close game as it typically is. I'm gonna go Stanford.
I'm also going to take Stanford, and I think this puts the nail in the coffin for Mark Helfrich. And maybe Phil Knight calls up Chip Kelly, and he did say he's willing to offer, willing to pay $10 million a year for a new head football coach up in Eugene. So, Chip Kelly, what do you say? Maybe go back to college football. We'll have to see. But I'm also going to take Stanford. LSU at Arkansas, as I said, both teams ranked 24th and 25th in the poll. I picked Arkansas all year, so I can't pick against them now. Who pick?
Another good game right here. Arkansas at home. I like them. I keep saying it. They're that team. They can just
Yeah.
totally derail a season. But of course, LSU season's pretty much over after losing this past week. So their hopes of the college football playoff are basically done.
I think this has potential to be the game of the week, to be honest
The
with
Arkansas,
you.
yeah.
This LSU-Arkansas game.
Yeah, definitely.
If you really look into it. Wake Forest, team we talked about 2 months ago that could possibly win the ACC if they would have beat Florida State, beat Clemson. Now they play Louisville. Obviously didn't beat Clemson and Florida State, so there's not a shot for them now, but they do have a good shot to win this week, but they're playing Lamar Jackson in Louisville. That's too much.
That's the big thing. For me.
Louisville will beat Wake Forest.
That's the big thing for me. Louisville has been so good at home this season. We saw what they did to Florida State in the second week of the season. I think it was second week. I'm pretty sure. They come to play at home all the time. I think Lamar Jackson's adds another game to his resume for that Heisman Trophy.
Yeah,
who knows?
Was he have 3 games with 7 touchdowns?
Something like that. Who
It's
knows?
ridiculous.
Maybe this game is the clincher. Maybe this ices it for him. Who knows? Depends what he does.
We'll have to see.
It also depends on Baker Mayfield. I think he's the only other one that could. Then again, Jake Browning as well for Washington, but
yeah,
I already mentioned that previously. So
you also got Jabril Peppers too.
Jabril Peppers, of
You
course.
can't
How can I
forget about him. You cannot forget about
You
him.
probably should send him. Obviously, not have 3 quarterbacks. So He's definitely-
Speaking of quarterbacks, this next game,
yeah,
both teams are without their starting quarterback now for the rest of the season. Chad Kelly, Ole Miss's quarterback, blew his knee out.
college career's done.
His college career is done. Who knows if he's still going to be a first-round pick come
Doubtful.
Draft time in April. And
The
then
way he's played this season, plus the injury.
yeah, and then the only good thing about his last name is Kelly. He's the nephew of Jim Kelly.
What's in a name anyway, though?
So there's still potential for him to possibly be a high draft pick to the right team. Maybe he goes to Pittsburgh. Maybe he goes to New Orleans. Going back to that question. But then they play at Texas A&M, and Trevor Knight broke his shoulder, the former Oklahoma transfer. So I think this game is going to come down to running backs and good defense. It's going to be low scoring, I think. But A&M, they're playing at home. 12th man there. Gig 'em. A&M over Ole Miss.
I'm also going to go A&M at home.
All right, next is USC at Washington. This is where College Game Day is at, as I said, up in Seattle for the first time in forever. USC, I'm going to take an upset. I don't like Washington. They have not played anybody this year. I said it last week. Said it a little bit ago. I don't think they really deserve to be ranked in the top 4.
Well, I do like Washington. I'm going to take them in this game. I do really want to actually see Washington in the top 4 in the college football playoff. I really want to see the diversity in the top 4 there. That's why I'd have to say I'm probably for expanding the college football playoff to more teams, so you can get more diverse teams in there.
Say 6 or 8.
6 or 8. Maybe you get your Western Michigan that you've been talking
Possibly,
about.
yeah.
Or the Big 12 even without a conference championship game, like for this season especially, because next season they will have it. But you can get some teams from the outside that could maybe shock some teams.
Jake, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say that I would be for expansion for that.
Okay. Maybe that's a question of the day, question of the week. Maybe
definitely quality
coming up here in the future. Jake Browning, I agree with you. He is a good quarterback. He really hasn't made any mistakes though yet this year. I think that is a good thing. I think he does make a mistake late, and that's why Washington loses at home to USC. Speaking of another tough place to play, Nebraska's playing at home against Minnesota in Lincoln on Saturday night on Big Ten Network. Should be one hell of a game. Both teams are 7-2. Both teams could still win the Big Ten West if Wisconsin loses. If Wisconsin loses a game,
of course Nebraska has the uphill battle.
They do.
Both losing
They've
to
lost 2 straight. And Minnesota's also lost to Wisconsin.
Yeah, so they both it's a long shot for them then.
There's still a chance, though. There's still hope.
Of course.
So I think this could possibly be the game of the week alongside LSU Arkansas.
This is your under-the-radar game.
Yes,
right
a real under-the-radar game this week. And with that, I'm going to take Nebraska just because they're playing at home.
Same.
It's always sold out. Their fans are one of the best in college football. And I think they squeak it out.
It's always packed there. I've said it on the show before. It's because it's pretty much all Nebraska's got.
It's true.
Sports-wise.
It's true. Yeah, they don't have professional.
It's in the biggest city, the capital, freaking Nebraska. I mean, it only makes sense for that. But Nebraska at home. It's gonna be too tough for Minnesota, I think.
All right, another Big Ten matchup in a state, in a city that really doesn't have anything else either. Iowa. They host Michigan, the number 3 team in the country. There. Iowa played it here at Penn State last week. Penn State was looking pretty good, and Iowa really didn't stand a chance. But Michigan's better than both of those teams, so I think Michigan will win, but it's going to be closer than what people think. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
I do think it will be closer than people think. I have Michigan on possible upset this week.
Really?
It's a long shot. Like Clemson. Iowa's a tough place to play, coming off to a pretty crushing loss to Penn State last week. Iowa is. They might come ready to play here in Iowa City. It is. But I am going to take Michigan in the end, of course. So keep them going. They'll continue to remain right there in the top 4.
And then last but not least, another Washington team, and then we'll get into some questions here. If there's some out there. Washington State, up in Pullman, they're ranked in the top 25. They put up 69 last week on Arizona. Arizona's down this year, but still, he put up 69 points. That's pretty good. And then they host Cal, who got blown out at home to Washington.
Yeah.
So I think they'll lose to another Washington school this week in the Cougs. So Washington State over Cal.
I think that's like 2 straight for Cal now. They lost to USC on like Thursday night or something, or a Friday possibly.
Yes.
The week before
It would
Washington.
have been Thursday night.
Thursday.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, their coach called them out that night, and then they got blown out by Washington.
Sonny Dykes.
Yeah. So I am going to go Washington State in this one. They are. I don't know what to say about them. They're kind of snuck their way into the rankings here now, playing well throughout this season.
All right. Before we go to the NFL, do we have any questions?
We do have a couple of
We
questions.
do have more questions.
Got some that we haven't had yet.
Yes. Another question from Chase Wise.
All right.
Of course.
Who is
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
who is the next college coach to be an NFL head coach?
That's a good question. That is a really good question. Caught me off guard. Let me think about that.
All right.
I need to think about that.
And this kind of pertains to Luke.
Okay.
It's kind of a controversial one. Cody Spade asks, "Did Joe know?"
Spade, you know my opinion on that.
Hashtag triggered.
I don't think I need to answer that. You know my opinion on that.
He's so triggered, you know. But yeah, NFL. We'll get into that. Take your mind off it. How about that?
I'm good.
Does that sound
I'm
good? NFL this week. Biggest upset for you, Luke.
Biggest upset. I know you have Colts over Packers.
I do have Colts over the Packers.
I would have to say Lions or the Vikings. The Vikings have lost 3 straight now, and then they've lost in
why it's not
overtime
an upset.
at home. But I had both of them, so I agree with you on Colts over Packers. But then I had Lions over Vikings.
I don't have the Lions over the Vikings because the Lions have been playing very well the last few weeks, while the Vikings have been playing poorly. If
It's
anything,
true.
Vikings winning would have almost been an upset
That is-
the way they've been playing recently.
That's true. Okay.
So, and hey, the Lions are right there. I mean, if I want to skip ahead, they impressed me this week because that win, showing resolve and coming back, hitting game-tying 58-yard field goal to force overtime, and then winning the game in overtime thanks to some
On the first possession.
drive, yeah.
On the first drive, yeah.
some very poor tackling from the Vikings defense. I mean, all you have to do is push Golden Tate out of bounds. You couldn't even do that.
No.
I mean, very poor.
And then he decided to leap into the end zone.
Yeah, being a jerk about it, but they're 5-4 now. I thought they were a team that wouldn't do too well without Calvin Johnson at the receiver, but it's almost helping Matthew Stafford because he has to worry about feeding Calvin Johnson the ball, if that makes any sense. You don't have to feed the ego of a star
Yeah.
player like that. He's able to spread the ball around, give it to guys like Anquan Bolden and Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. So
He also has Eric Ebron as his tight end.
Ebron and,
then,
of course, Riddick out of the backfield
and
now,
Theo
too.
Riddick is
He just came back from
at
injury
running
2
back,
weeks ago, so
yeah.
they're right there in the NFC North. They are just
They
a game
are.
behind the Vikings now,
That NFC North, anybody can win.
except for the Bears.
Except for the Bears. I'm sorry, any Bears fans out there. They're just not playing well this year.
Vikings look like a real contender right now because the Packers are only 4-4. They're 500. They're ahead of the Packers. They got to bye this week. The Lions do, so we'll see if the Packers can catch them this week. We have them in our games this week, so. But that's who impressed me. Do you want to just go into yours right now?
Yeah, I had the Colts just because
Colts.
with the Packers.
All right.
They went on the road to Lambeau, and that squirrel that was running around had more rushing yards than the Packers running backs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Colts impressed for me.
You brought up the Colts. I had the Packers in the disappointed category. 4-4.
I also had the Packers in disappointment.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers calling out the team after the game on Sunday, too.
Well,
With lack of effort, which
Yeah.
is something you don't want to hear.
no, and then that puts more pressure on the head coach, Mike McCarthy. His time might be up. I don't know.
Also, for impressed, I would have put some other teams like the I already have Lions, but the Raiders because they beat the Broncos 30-20 on Sunday night.
I've believed in the Raiders all season. As I said, I picked them to win the AFC West, so that really wasn't surprising. It was impressive.
It's impressive.
The first Sunday night game in Oakland in quite some time, and they beat the defending Super Bowl champs at that.
That's
too,
what I was getting to. Defeat the defending Super Bowl champs, hold them to just 30-some or 40 rushing yards, something like that total in the entire game. And then
Yeah.
on the flip side, they had hundreds of yards like over 100. At least Lat Murray did. Latavius
Yeah,
Murray. did.
Murray had 3 touchdowns. He really helped me out in fantasy football.
Yeah. So
Um,
I could have put the Raiders. I've had them the last 2
Yeah.
weeks though, so that's why they're not on that list. So just as an aside, but the only thing we didn't go over is the best game this week. I had the Giants or the Lions and the Vikings rather. The 22-16 in overtime. I already kind of went into that a little bit. Lions making a comeback. And also the Giants beating the Eagles 28-23. They almost blew that game. Eli Manning threw a pick late in that game when they needed to run out the ball, run out the clock, and gave the Eagles a prime opportunity in the Giants zone. But Carson Wentz couldn't get it done there late. They're a team that has kind of fallen off the wagon a bit since starting undefeated. What were they, 4-0 or 3-0 or something like that?
who?
The Eagles.
Eagles, yeah, they were 4-0.
I think they won one game. That was the Vikings when they knocked the Vikings off.
Yeah,
Undefeated.
on
It was on
yeah,
primetime,
at home.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't primetime game. Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was or not.
but yeah,
Best game for me had to been that Bills Seahawks game.
Yeah, it was wild.
Speaking of wild, you want to ask the question of the week right now? See if our viewers, listeners,
Yeah, sure.
wanna
Why not?
get in on it.
In concerning that game, there, if you watch SportsCenter the day after, or that night,
Or even
or
if
the
you
game,
watch the game.
some officiating problems, you could say. A lot of questions about that. Richard Sherman's possible roughing the kicker or unnecessary roughness on the kicker at the end of the half. And then also, in that same play, right after that, the official's just standing there. They don't reset the play clock. They're forced to take a delay of game because they have no timeouts, the Bills do. And then Sherman again at the end of the game, the final play of the game for the Bills, just totally decks one of the Bills receivers. He's not even in the play, decks him for pretty much no good reason, So, in regards to all that questionable officiating, we're asking, do you think there is a problem with officiating in sports, especially football? Because that seems to be one of the ones that's brought up a lot, that gets a lot of coverage whenever something goes
And
wrong.
that's college football, that's the NFL, that's all levels of football. And then if you think officiating is bad in other sports as well, let us know. Give your opinion. You're not.
As for me, I
you're
think
not.
there is. By the way.
You might disagree with somebody. You might agree with somebody. You're entitled to your own opinion. So let us know in the comments and let people know.
I think there is a problem with officiating in sports in general.
Yeah, I agree.
And you just got to do things you just got to do things to make it a lot more reliable in some ways. I don't know how to exactly go about doing that, but it's just something,
Yeah.
Because a lot of these calls are so baffling that, like, how can you not call that? Even, like, in the heat of the moment, how does he not call roughing the kicker on that play?
Yeah,
If we're talking about the
he was
Seahawks
clearly offsides. Clearly offsides. And they call the offsides. But then they don't call, the roughing the kicker. But,
I mean, I do see where
there's
Sherman's coming
nothing we can do about it. We can talk about it, but other than that, we can't, we probably could sign a petition and send it to the NFL and say, you need to change this, change that, but, really, is anybody going to do that? No. Because no one has the guts to do so, but, and that's what's wrong with America, too. Going back to the presidency.
Oh, man.
So we'll leave that at that, though. Corey doesn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, but again, the question of the week this week is: do you think there's a problem with officiating in sports, especially football? Because that's what we're kind of talking about at the moment.
Yeah.
So, I think I see a question on there. I can't really read it from here, but what
PR
is that
guy,
question?
what is it?
I got a question from Andy Brown.
All right, Andy, what's up?
Uh,
Thanks for tuning in.
he
It looked
says,
interesting.
Warriors blew a 3-1 lead.
Yep.
Indians blew a 3-1 lead. And last night, Hillary blew a 3-1 lead.
Got that right.
Thoughts?
Thoughts? It's true. It is true.
That's great. It's one big conspiracy.
I really don't know what to say or how to,
It's one big conspiracy.
explain it.
3-1 leads
It
are
is.
never
It is
safe
true, though.
anymore.
It is true.
Can never trust a 3-1 lead ever again, I guess. Not
No.
This age. Oh man.
Anything else?
No.
No.
Oh, we're on the picks this week, aren't we?
Yeah, on to picks now for the NFL.
Yeah. I was a perfect 500 this week, 4-4,
I was 3-5.
3-5. Again, another game on Luke. Luke, you're at 40, 38, and 2. Well, I'm at 43,
Unfortunately.
35, and 2. I'm 3 games up on you.
Yeah, it's
Up
not
in every juncture right
not,
now.
not by much, but we'll
Doing
see.
well.
We'll see what happens. We've still got a lot of football to be played.
Doing well, beating you in all the picks.
Yeah,
Somehow.
yeah, I know.
Especially surprising in the college game, considering you're bigger into that than I
Well,
am.
you know me, I like to take an upset here and there.
Yeah.
And some games will come down to the last play. Like last week, I picked Kansas State over Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like a lack of
you know,
knowledge.
it came down
At
to
times.
Hail Mary at the end.
Yeah, it's almost like my lack of knowledge at times helps me at some point.
It's true. It's like whatever I
sounds
say,
bad,
you,
but like
you
at the same
disagree
time.
on or
Yeah.
whatnot. But all right, first game for the NFL this week.
Yeah, first game, Thursday night game, Ravens, Browns in Baltimore. Probably taking the Browns, or not the Browns. Yeah, we're taking the Browns. Yeah, we're taking the Ravens in this one.
I don't know what you're smoking over there.
Something fierce, I guess. But yeah, Ravens in this one.
The Browns actually I think they got up 3-0 last week on the Cowboys.
Oh, they blew a 3-0
So
lead.
they also blew a 3-0 lead. There's
3-1.
there's no way you can score 1 point in a football game. So other than an extra point, but it's after you score a touchdown. So everybody knows what I'm saying there. Cleveland, as we said a little bit ago, somebody asked, is Cleveland going to go 0-16?
Or if they're going to win.
There's a possibility, or they will win the game. They're not going to win this week. I'll tell you that.
Probably not.
Baltimore over Cleveland, and then Pittsburgh needs to win to stay in a tight race with Baltimore in the AFC North. Excuse me.
Do I have any questions? Do we have any questions? No?
Now
questions?
people are just commenting on there.
Somebody just comment. I'm just looking at the screen right now. It looked like there might have been one. But kicking things off on the Sunday afternoon schedule, Packers versus Titans, two teams that are hovering right around 500, two teams that are kind of in a stalemate in their division.
Yep.
They could win or they could lose their division at this point. The Packers need this win.
They do.
Couple of losses now back to
They
back
do.
to the Falcons and now the Colts. Definitely need it. Titans, of course, the Titans need it, but they are better than the Titans. They should beat the Titans, so I'm going to pick the Packers to beat the Titans.
Yeah, this is the Packers' first of 3 straight road games. I think they do get back on track and get back in the win column, and they pick up the win in Nashville on Sunday.
All right, got the Chiefs taking on the Panthers in Charlotte. I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one. They've been the better team all season. The Panthers have looked really, really bad this
Yes,
entire season for the most part.
which we should
Just beat the Rams last week, only by 3. Mostly because there was like a garbage time touchdown at the end of the game for the Rams, but still, you barely beat the Rams, who at the really early at the start of the season they were looking pretty good.
Yeah, but
Lost to
they're-
Buffalo when they were like 3-1, and then haven't really done much
Yeah, they're
since.
3-5 now. I think
Oh, they haven't won a game then.
those LA Rams are. But as you said, the Panthers are down this year. We should have expected that somewhat
Yeah.
because
As with any team that makes the Super Bowl or wins the Super Bowl, you lose guys.
that,
First of all.
and with the NFC South,
That too.
that division.
Well, that's how you think.
anybody can win that division year in and year out. It's pretty ridiculous how even those teams are, if you ask me. But I'm actually going to take Carolina over Kansas City.
I was thinking about it.
They're playing at home. This would be a big win for them,
It would.
and I'm going to take Carolina.
All right. I see a question from our own PR guy, and that's who's going to win the AFC South. Mr. Colts fan over there.
Not happening.
Who's going to win the AFC South, though? Here's the
Houston.
question. Houston?
Houston.
I don't know. This is another division that anything can happen at this point.
They're just they're so much better than.
Houston hasn't looked good in recent weeks, though.
No, I mean they're off last week. They already beat the Colts though, so they already
Of course, but
do already have a head-to-head win. They still
they still have to play him again.
I know, in Indy this time. So it's going to be hard to tell. It's going to come down to that game though, I think. But I think Houston will win the South.
It's hard for me to say. I have Houston at the moment, but if Colts can build off that victory against the Packers this past week, who knows? They could get hot.
They got Dante Moncrief back.
It's just
Alongside
their
T.Y.
defense.
Hilton now, and Frank Gore's running the ball really well lately. So
Surprisingly, That's been a staple of the Colts'
It's
offense, lack of running game, because
hard
of
to
their
tell.
terrible offensive line in recent years.
Yeah.
Being able to protect Andrew Luck too, but their team that can get hot. Tennessee's they play teams pretty tough all year for the most part.
they have, and when
They're
when it comes down to it, though, they don't win. So that's why they're
They're one of the
4-5 now.
4-5, something like that.
So
They're one of those teams like the Chargers, who they lost to this past week. That a couple things go right, they're looking really good this season.
Yeah.
So who knows? Going through, Saints take on the Broncos this week in Denver. As a theme on the show, I don't take the Saints too much, and I'm not going to.
surprisingly, I don't know why you don't.
I'm taking the Broncos in this one. Surprisingly in this one for me, I think, because it's similar to last week, whether or not the Saints offense will be able to overtake the Broncos defense, because as I said last week, the Broncos offense is not that great, especially now with no C.J. Anderson. We saw it just Sunday night. Couldn't run the ball at all. But the Saints' lack of defense, for the most part, will make up for some of that, however. And they'll be able to break off some stuff. Should probably be a close game, maybe a high-scoring game. Saints team playing always high-scoring games.
Yeah, I think this is going to come down to one of the final possessions of the game. I think New Orleans is going to win because they're playing at home. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Denver does win, to get a
I
bounce
don't
back
think so.
win.
I think it's in Denver.
No, the game's in New Orleans.
It's not what it said.
Look that up, PR guy. It's in New Orleans.
I wrote it down
I know
the
it
way
is.
I wrote the way ESPN showed me. So
It's in New Orleans at 1:00 on CBS.
either you're right or
Any
ESPN's wrong.
any people out there listening,
Or ESPN's wrong.
ESPN's always wrong.
ESPN said Broncos. Whatever.
So
The easiest game to pick this week: Cowboys Steelers. I got Cowboys.
I got the Steelers.
Luke was right about that.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. I know I was right. Game is in New Orleans, but yeah, going back to that, I think it's gonna come down to the final possession, and New Orleans is gonna pull out the win
All right. Already did Cowboys Steelers.
Sunday night.
Sunday night is Seahawks Patriots in a Super Bowl rematch from a couple years ago in New England. I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one. At home, Tom Brady, he's playing out of his mind. Is pissed because of the suspension. A focused and fired up Tom Brady is a scary Tom Brady.
He is, and going back to whoever had asked who's going to win MVP,
Yeah, that's who I have.
that's
At the moment.
that's a good reason why. I'm gonna take Seattle.
Because you hate Brady.
I do hate Tom Brady, and the Patriots just beat the Steelers a couple weeks ago. So, and if Pittsburgh, can win against Dallas on Sunday and win some more games, obviously, which they need to get in the playoff hunt. They are now, but to get seeded in the playoffs and make the playoffs, and not possibly have to play the Patriots in the playoffs, and if they do, Ben will be playing, unlike he did a couple weeks ago. So Seattle in this game though on Sunday night. It's gonna be a real good game.
All right. And then Monday night is the Giants going to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. And you have it written differently again. What the heck?
It's in New York.
What the heck?
It's in New
ESPN's
York.
ripping me off over here. They keep telling me the wrong
You
things.
might want to start using a different source.
I guess. Jeez. I even wrote this down and then looked at it again. And
Yeah,
it's
it's Cincinnati at the Giants.
this is ridiculous. But I got the Bengals in this one. I don't believe in the Giants at all for the most part. But they've won a couple games here. Beat the Rams in London. Beat the Eagles just this past week. Bengals, they had it off last week, I think it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Because they played in London and they tied the Redskins. Now they had a bye. So Bengals coming off a bye at home. Got Monday night. Long break for them. But I'm going to go with Bengals in this one. That's all I really got to say. I don't really care about this game.
All right. Well, game's in East Rutherford too, by the way.
Yeah.
Me being a Steelers fan, I can't pick the Cincinnati Bengals. I need the Bengals to lose, and the Giants have been playing real well lately. I think three or four straight.
Something like that.
So, I think the Giants are gonna beat the Bengals on Monday Night Football.
That's all I got. So unless we have any more questions.
I don't have anything else. Do we have any more questions?
No more
No.
questions. So That's it then.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all we got for you today on Across the Goal Line.
You want to read the question of the week one more time?
Oh yeah, question of the week one last time, just so you can hear it again. Do you think there's a problem with officiating in sports, in the NFL or football in general? Because that seems to be one that's always covered for the most part. It's one that gets highlighted a lot. Yeah, do you think there's a problem in officiating in sports with officiating in sports? But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this week on Across the Goal Line on this live stream and on the actual episode too. But
Like us here on Facebook.
like us on Facebook,
Follow
us on Twitter, Instagram.
Yep.
At
Follow-
ATGL16.
Follow him on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter.
Yep.
What else is there? I don't think really anything else.
Buy the merch,
Yeah, buy our
all the
merchandise. You get a hold of us for merchandise.
What I normally say at the end of the episodes on YouTube, so
Yeah.
if you make it that far. But yeah, that's all we got for you today. So we'll see you next week probably, or
Yeah,
Who knows?
I think we're going to be doing this week in and week out now, every week. Facebook Live, along with recording it for our episode of the week. And then come the beginning of the year, we're probably 2 to 3 times a week talking about a different sport.
Yeah, we're gonna
each
try
time.
to-
We're going to try to
on YouTube though.
on YouTube, but if Facebook Live, what's the right word? Facebook Live. If it comes down, if it comes down to Facebook Live, we will do Facebook
All right.
Live.
Yeah.
We got a lot more of feedback today. A lot of likes.
Pretty good today.
A little better than last week, and hopefully that
That's
it
for everyone to
keeps
get
going in the
That's
right
for
direction.
interaction. The
What's
interaction.
that?
That's for interaction.
Yes.
With fans and stuff. Them asking questions. That helps. Makes us need to be or have our wits about us. Make sure we're ready for everything.
Yeah.
Because they can ask anything.
They can, and like I said, if you guys have any questions, let us know. Message us on Facebook. We'll reply. You get a hold of us personally.
Yeah. On our Twitters or something.
Read Twitters, text messages, call me, call him, whatever. Be glad to talk to you guys. So,
But yeah.
With that, I think that's where we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
As I said, like us here on Facebook, follow on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. Follow at ColeAndLuke96 on Twitter. That's me, and CAMains14 on Twitter for Corey over there. So be sure to join in next week, and we'll see you then.
Yeah.